3 more months. That's it. And Carlo Ancelotti will announce Brazil's 2026 World Cup squad. May 19th. Mark your calendars. That is the day that he will release the list of Brazilian players that will be playing in the World Cup. The nation that has the most World Cup trophies, but it's been 24 years since Brazil has won one, and that's been bothering many Brazilians. Now, could Ancelotti's Brazil win the 2026 World Cup? Yes, maybe, they could. Will Neymar be there? Maybe, we'll talk about that very soon. What about Endrick? Today, I want to dive into all of that. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, where we provide the best coverage of South American football in English on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed, do it right now, because you're missing out. Or don't. I literally cannot force you to do anything, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would. Okay, so now we have a lot of data on Ancelotti's Brazil, and today I want to do my final Brazil 2026 squad prediction, okay, for the World Cup. But before we start, let me explain a few things. The World Cup will have a 26-man roster just like 2022, unless FIFA changes that last minute. There were rumors that it could be a 30-man squad, but as of now, nothing's been confirmed. So for the sake of this video, we're going to go with 26 players. To predict who Ancelotti will call up, I will be using data about every single player that he has called up so far, reports that have come out from the Brazilian media, names that are considered locks, and comments from Carlo Ancelotti himself. We're going to start with the goalkeepers and work our way up to the forwards. And I'll be mostly using facts, not my opinion, just facts and data, okay? So it's not my roster or what I think it should be. It's what I think Ancelotti will do. So do not shoot the messenger. And of course, I will be addressing the elephant in the room. Neymar. Will he be in the 2026 World Cup or not? But before we start, let me know in the comment section down below. 1. Do you think Neymar will be in the 2026 World Cup? And 2. Would you bring Neymar to the 2026 World Cup? Alright, make sure to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. Subscribe as well to the channel. And with that said, let's roll the intro and let's start with the goalkeepers. Okay, before we start talking about the goalkeepers, here's some important information that you must know. So far, Carlo Ancelotti has called up around 45 players in every single call-up that he's had. In the last camp before the World Cup will be March, where Brazil will play 2 friendlies. If you are a player, or if this player hasn't been called up at all up to March, he will not be in the World Cup roster. The March camp is the last opportunity for any player to show Ancelotti that he can be in the World Cup. So for example, Neymar, that we'll talk about very soon. If he's not called in March, he's not going to be in the World Cup roster, I can assure you. With that said, why did I tell you this? Because the players that have been called up so far is important data. So who are or which were the goalkeepers that he has called up till now? Okay, so up till now, he has called up Alisson from Liverpool, Ederson from Fenerbahce, Hugo Souza from Corinthians, Bento from Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, and John from Nottingham Forest. Knowing that, who will make it? Who will be, or which will be the 3 goalkeepers that he will bring to the World Cup? Well, Alisson from Liverpool, if he's healthy, he is a lock. Alisson will be there. Now, Ederson from Fenerbahce, if he's healthy, he's number 2. I think that's a pretty easy pick. Now, number 3 is a tough one. It can be Hugo, it can be Bento. I don't think it'll be John. I think it's mainly between Hugo Souza from Corinthians and Bento from Al Nassr. Now, my guess is that Hugo Souza will be called up. Despite his national team performances, I don't think they were great. He didn't have a good game against Japan. Ancelotti still called him up in November, and he got cut due to injury. So my prediction for the World Cup is that if they are all healthy, and I have to assume that, he'll call up Alisson from Liverpool, Ederson from Fenerbahce, and Hugo Souza from Corinthians. Alright, now we have the fullbacks, and I believe Ancelotti will bring 5 fullbacks for the World Cup. And the reason I think it's 5 and not 4, it's mainly because one of them will be a center back that can play as a fullback, like in Eder Militão, right? He can play as a center back, can play as a right back, or Danilo from Flamengo that can play as a right back, center back. And here's a list of fullbacks that have been called up by Carlo Ancelotti and he could bring to the World Cup. Eder Militão from Real Madrid, yes, he can play fullback as well as center back, and Ancelotti does trust him. He has coached Eder Militão the past with Real Madrid. Danilo from Flamengo, he can also play center back or right back. Alexandro, the left back from Flamengo. Wesley from Roma, the right back. Wanderson, the right back from Monaco. Paulo Henrique from Vasco da Gama. Carlos Augusto from Inter Milan. Caio Henrique from Monaco. And Douglas Santos from Zenit, a left back that seems like Ancelotti very much likes him. So out of the players that I mentioned, which will be the 5 that Carlo Ancelotti will call up? Okay, so to me, Éder Militão, he's a lock. If he's healthy, he will be there. He's expected to be back from a hamstring injury around March or April, so he should be fine for the World Cup. Éder Militão will be there. Alexandro from Flamengo, Ancelotti really likes him. I think Alexandro will be there. Wesley from Roma, very likely will be there as well as one of the right back options. Wanderson from Monaco, I also think he's an option. And the reason I think he's going to bring Wesley and Wanderson, along with the data that he has called them up, he likes these fullbacks that can run a lot. Like Wesley's very good going forward. I know that defensively Wesley and Wanderson might not be the best, but they can run a lot. And it seems like that's what Ancelotti is prioritizing, along with a few fullbacks that have more defensive solidity, right? Like Militão and Alexandro. So just to recap, Militão is a lock. Alexandro to me is also a lock, both if they're healthy. Wesley will be there. Wanderson very likely will be there from Monaco. And the last fullback will very likely be Caio Henrique, also from Monaco. He doesn't really seem to rate Carlos Augusto from Inter Milan. Douglas Santos has a shot, but based on the data we have, I think Ancelotti prefers Caio Henrique. Now, if Éder Militão is out injured, I could see Ancelotti calling up Danilo from Flamengo that can play as a center back, can play as a right back, but that's also if Danilo is not injured as well. And you see, the fullback position is the Achilles heel of the Brazilian national team, right? This is the weakness, in my personal opinion, along with the midfield. I think the midfield also has been better in the past, but you look at the fullbacks that Brazil used to have. We used to have Dani Alves, Marcelo, Cafu, Roberto Carlos. We used to have these world-class fullbacks, and right now we're having to put a center back, Militão as a right back, Wesley, Wanderson, no disrespect, they would be good backups to Cafu, Roberto Carlos, but they wouldn't be starters in previous generations. But anyhow, Militão, Alexandro, Wesley, Wanderson, and Caio Henrique will very likely be the 5 fullbacks that will be in the 2026 World Cup for Brazil. Now let's talk about the center backs, the zagueiros, the defenders for Brazil. And I believe Ancelotti will bring 4. Again, because guys like Militão, Danilo, or even Alexandro could play center back if needed. So who are the 4? Before we even talk about the 4 that I think will go, let's go through the relevant center backs that have been called up and could go to the World Cup so far. Marquinhos from PSG is one of them, Beraldo from PSG is another, Fabrício Bruno from Cruzeiro, Gabriel Magalhães from Arsenal, Alexandro from Lille, and Leo Ortiz from Flamengo. All these guys have been called up by Carlo Ancelotti, and I'm kind of surprised that he never called up Bremer from Juventus. That's a pretty good center back. Now this is what's interesting. Now we have to predict the 4 center backs that he will bring, and I actually think one of them has not been called up yet. He might be called in March, and I think he might actually make the roster. But let's talk about it. Who are the 4 center backs that I think he'll bring? Okay, so 2 of them are locks. Marquinhos from PSG, he's going. Gabriel Magalhães from Arsenal, he's also going. Now, center back number 3, in my opinion, will be Alexandro from Lille. He has been struggling with injuries here and there, and he's playing a little bit worse than he was in the previous season. But if he's fit, Ancelotti will bring him. He's a very good center back, by the way, Alexandro from Lille. Now, the 4th center back, that's a tricky one, because there are reports saying that Ancelotti wants to call up Léo Pereira in March from Flamengo, not Léo Ortiz, Léo Pereira. So it's essentially between Beraldo, Léo Ortiz, that is behind Léo Pereira right now probably, Fabrício Bruno, that's unlikely. And honestly, I think it's between a poor form Beraldo and a good form Léo Pereira. And in my opinion, Léo Pereira might actually make it as the 4th center back in the World Cup. So Marquinhos, Gabriel Magalhães, and Alexandro from Lille, to me, they will be there if they're healthy. The 4th one, I'm not sure. My guess will be Léo Pereira. It's a little bit of my guess based on what they're reporting and my personal opinion, which I shouldn't be using in this video, but sometimes I kind of have to, like for this one. Regardless, if Léo Pereira goes to the World Cup or Fabrício Bruno or Beraldo, I don't expect them to play. If it reaches a point where they have to, because Marquinhos is injured, Gabriel Magalhães, he'll probably just get Militão and play him as a center back, or maybe Danilo will be called in and he'll play as a center back. But regardless, that's my prediction. Marquinhos, Gabriel Magalhães, Alexandro, and Léo Pereira from Flamengo. Okay, next up we have the midfielders, and I believe Carlo Ancelotti will bring 6 midfielders to the 2026 World Cup. Alright, and here are some relevant midfielders that he has called up so far. João Gomes and André from Wolves. I doubt both of them go. Ederson from Atalanta, good player, but I don't think he'll make it. Joelinton from Newcastle, that hasn't really been impressive, but I think he has a shot in going to the World Cup. Gerson from Cruzeiro, that kind of messed up his chances when he moved to Russia, and then he came back to Brazil, but we'll see. André Santos from Chelsea, incredible young player. Bruno Guimarães from Newcastle, that is currently injured, but he will be fine for the World Cup. He'll be back in time. Casemiro from Manchester United, a man that Carlo Ancelotti very much trusts. Lucas Paquetá from Flamengo. He hasn't been great for Flamengo early on, but he's a good player. He'll very likely be in the World Cup. Andrés Pereira from Palmeiras, that has been incredible for Palmeiras so far. And honestly, the midfield is the section that I think Neymar lands. And listen, Neymar hasn't been called up yet by Ancelotti, and I don't know if he's going to be called up in March. I doubt it. But Ancelotti has said it himself. The wingers, which would be the other position Neymar can play, they need pace. They need speed. They need power. Neymar doesn't have that anymore, right? And right now, I've been watching Neymar for Santos. Fitness-wise, it's been a problem. I don't care what people say or bring up statistics. If you watch him play, physically, he's not the same. He's not as explosive or as quick as he once was, which is fine. He's older, and he has been through a lot in terms of injuries. But I've also noticed some technical issues. Neymar's been making some technical mistakes, right? Like bad passes, giveaways, not being able to dribble past opponents, bad finishes that we didn't see from previous versions of Neymar. Now, mind you, he just came back from injury, another knee surgery. I personally don't think Neymar will make it to the World Cup, which I hate to say this because he's the second best Brazilian player that I have ever seen, only behind Ronaldo, R9, but I don't think he's going to be in the World Cup. It doesn't feel like Ancelotti is a big fan of Neymar, and Neymar is not playing incredibly to a point where Ancelotti cannot leave him out. Like, if he leaves him out, many people will understand. Now, would I take Neymar? I don't know. I will want to see how he does with the next few games for Santos, but I've watched his 2 games for Santos since he's come back, and he hasn't been impressive, okay? Let's just be honest. And in 2025, besides that final stretch where he played well against some very bad teams, he hasn't been impressive. And listen, I'm a massive Neymar fan. I want him in the World Cup. But just my honest opinion, and based on the data we have in the comments from Ancelotti, I don't think Neymar makes it to the World Cup, okay? And then now we have the March call-up. If Neymar is not in the March roster, which I don't think he's gonna be, he won't be in the World Cup. With that said, who are the 6 midfielders that I believe Carlo Ancelotti will bring to the World Cup? Okay, so Casemiro, he's a lock. Bruno Guimarães, also a lock. Bruno Guimarães is out for another month or 2, but he'll be fine for the World Cup. André Santos from Chelsea, he's going to be there. He's very close to a lock. Honestly, he's pretty much a lock. Lucas Paquetá, very likely will be in the World Cup roster. His performances for Flamengo will improve. He's a good player. I think he's going to be in the World Cup as well. Now, the other 2, right, players number 5 and 6, that's where I'm not sure. 1 to 4, to me, they're mostly locks. Casemiro, Bruno Guimarães, André Santos, and Lucas Paquetá. Now, for 5 and 6, Breno Bidon from Corinthians is an incredible player. If Ancelotti gives him a shot in March, he could have a shot in making it to the World Cup. Danilo from Botafogo, incredible as well. André from Wolves, I don't think Ancelotti likes him, so I don't think he'll be there. Gerson from Cruzeiro, maybe. I don't know. Other guys would be Andrés Pereira, I think he has a very good shot, and Joelinton if he's healthy. And as I said, Neymar is also an option. I just don't believe he's going to be there. So to me, player number 5 will be Andrés Pereira from Palmeiras, and player number 6 will be Joelinton from Newcastle. So just to recap, Casemiro, Bruno Guimarães, André Santos, Lucas Paquetá, Andrés Pereira, and Joelinton will be the 6 midfielders that Ancelotti will bring to the 2026 World Cup. And let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I think from 1 to 4, I'm probably going to be right if they're all healthy. I'm just not sure on Andrés Pereira and Joelinton. I'm confident that those will be the two, but I'm not certain. Okay, next up we have the wingers, and I believe Carlo Ancelotti will bring 5 wingers to the World Cup. Okay, and as I said, Neymar is not seen as a winger by Carlo Ancelotti, so I'm not mentioning Neymar anymore. I talked a lot about Neymar already. So here are a few relevant wingers that have been called up by Carlo Ancelotti and he could bring to the World Cup. Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal, Luis Henrique from Zenit, that was incredible for Botafogo, Vinicius and Rodrigo from Real Madrid, Antony from Real Betis, Estevão from Chelsea, Samuel Lino from Flamengo, that probably shouldn't be there, Rafinha from Barcelona. Now, Ryan will very likely get called up in March and he'll get a chance. He was incredible for Vasco and he has been incredible for Bournemouth in England early on. He can play on the wing, he can also play as a center forward, but for the Brazilian national team, I see him more as a winger than a center forward. And Ryan will get called in March. There are many reports that he will get a shot, but I am going to be honest, I think Ancelotti already has the 5 wingers that he wants to bring. And unless one of the 5 that I'm about to mention is injured, I don't see Ryan making the World Cup roster. Okay, so all 5 that I'm about to mention are supposed to be locks when it comes to Carlo Ancelotti. Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid, Estevão from Chelsea, Rafinha from Barcelona, Rodrigo from Real Madrid, and Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal. Like it or not, Gabriel Martinelli has been reported to be a lock for Carlo Ancelotti. Now, if 1 or 2 of these guys are injured, the other main options would be Luis Henrique, Antony, and Ryan. I think Luis Henrique is the first one in line because he played well under Ancelotti and he's a very good player. After that, probably Ryan, because he has the pace, the strength that Ancelotti would want, and Antony would be the third option. But once again, just to recap, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and Martinelli, they are very likely going to be in the 2026 World Cup. That's my prediction. I'm not a big fan of Martinelli. I would personally prefer Luis Henrique or Ryan, but based on the reports, and as I said, my opinion doesn't matter, I think Ancelotti will bring him. Okay, now the center forwards, and before we talk about them, make sure you drop a like in the video right now. It helps the channel a lot, and subscribe if you made it this far. I believe Carlo Ancelotti will bring 3 center forwards for the 2026 World Cup. And here are the relevant center forwards, or number 9s, that he has called up and could bring to the World Cup. João Pedro from Chelsea, Vitor Roque from Palmeiras, Matheus Cunha from Manchester United, Igor Jesus from Nottingham Forest, Caio Jorge from Cruzeiro, and Richarlison from Tottenham. And I know some of you are going to say, but Matheus Cunha can play the 10 or the false 9. Yes, but I believe he'll be listed as a center forward, and he has played as a center forward for Ancelotti. He also has played as a 10. But ultimately, I think he'll play as a 9 if he does start for Brazil, and right now he might actually start. But here's the thing. With the 9, I think Carlo Ancelotti will test new options in March. Maybe he'll test Ryan, even though I think he'll test Ryan on the wing. Endrick might be there in March and be tested as a center forward. Gabriel Jesus, if he's healthy, will be tested as a center forward. So a lot can change there. Igor Thiago also has been quite good for Brentford in the English Premier League, but this is his first good season at a very high level. I haven't seen anything special from him. I watched him play in the Premier League. I don't think he's going to get called up. Now, Richarlison is an Ancelotti favorite. I don't know why. There have been reports saying that he could lose his spot. I doubt it. He's been there in every single Ancelotti call-up. So if Richarlison is not injured, if he's healthy, I think he's going to go. With that said, who are the actual 3 center forwards that I think will be there? What's my prediction? Okay, Matheus Cunha is a lock. He's going to be there for sure. Richarlison, I would say it's like 95% certain. If he's healthy, he very likely will be there. So we have the 3rd spot open, which is between João Pedro, Vitor Roque, Igor Jesus, Endrick, and Gabriel Jesus. I don't think Vitor Roque will go. I don't think Igor Jesus will go. I don't think Caio Jorge will go. I think that 3rd spot is between João Pedro, Endrick, and Gabriel Jesus. And with that said, I think Endrick will make it to the World Cup. He is the most talented center forward out of all 3 that I mentioned. He's more talented than Gabriel Jesus, even though I think Gabriel Jesus is an incredible player. He's definitely more talented than Caio Jorge. He's more talented Then João Pedro, also from Chelsea. So I think Endrick catching good form with Lyon. He's had like one bad game for Lyon and played very well all other games. I think when push comes to shove, Ancelotti will bring Endrick in March. He'll do fine, and Endrick will very likely be in the 2026 World Cup. Endrick leaving Real Madrid in January to get this loan to Lyon was probably the smartest decision he could have done in his career. If he stayed with Real Madrid, he would not be in the 2026 World Cup. He made the right decision. He looks more mature. He's looking like a better player. And he is one of the biggest talents Brazil has right now. I would say probably top 3, top 4. So again, my prediction for the center forwards will be Matheus Cunha, Endrick, that can also play as a second striker or as a winger, and Richarlison. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, subscribe, and let me know once again in the comment section down below. Will Neymar make it to the 2026 World Cup? Yes or no? Would you bring him? Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.